Tanse, hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, however you're listening to this podcast. Thank you for supporting the work that we do. The UDRCast is a full-time job, takes a lot of work. I have a lot of people helping me, supporting me behind the scenes, and basically really trying to support the people who listen to it. I do the UDRcast out of the passion of my heart, and sometimes, it gets hard to make it happen. But we as a team try to join forces and get the content out. So I'm just asking you from my heart, if you have an opportunity to maybe help support the podcast through donations, a cup of coffee a month, a cup of coffees a month. Check out my Patreon account. We're accepting subscribers and donations there. Also, if you want to click onto my website, BILLWARDLIFE, there's a button there, it takes you to the Patreon. And, if we're helping you or your family or understanding, just think about giving us a hand up so we can keep creating great content. And if you have any suggestions on what you might want us to talk about, leave it in the comments on the website. Thank you. Hi. Welcome to the UDR Podcast. Coming to you live from the Recovery Capital of Canada. My name is Bill Ward. I'm your host. And today we have a special guest from down east. A guy that I met a couple years ago through a friend. And he's doing some amazing things. And today he's in the studio because he's got an event going on March 8th, 2025. Over at the Ramada in Calgary, Empowered to Recover. So we have Jay Barnard. Hey, Jay.
Hey, Bill. How you doing?
Good, buddy. You?
Has it been a couple of years already?
I think so.
Yeah. I guess stay at one of those hotels me and you met with TJ.
The Westin.
Yeah, the Westin.
By the airport.
Yes.
That's about 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you've been a part of the road show.
I think this is my fourth event.
Yeah, I think so. Hey, you did Calgary.
Edmonton.
You did Edmonton. You did Timmins.
Yeah.
And you're coming back to Calgary.
Coming back home.
Coming back home, baby.
So what's been going on in the world?
For myself personally, like last year I took, I just celebrated 17 years. So on February 11th,
congratulations.
I celebrated 17 years. Thank you. I think I want to focus, on like what I've gone through over the last 4 years. People in long-term recovery, and you know this because you work with people in recovery, I'm finding more people in long-term recovery are taking their lives, like that I work with, versus like early recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And, I got that story, you know what I mean? Like even in 2018 when I went through separation with Destiny's mom and life was really busy and I was really successful with the freshwater cuisine business. And, I just celebrated 10 years and spoke at the Hope in the City for Ottawa, sold out the Shaw Center, and I got off the stage and I thought, nobody got anything. And I went back to my room and I was like, if I go home and I hug Destiny and I don't feel any love, I'm going to take my life.
How many years sober were you?
10. And that's what I did. I went home and I hugged Destiny, and I love my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love my daughter. My daughter saved my life. Like, she's my everything. And, sometimes we can just find ourselves in our own minds. And that's just the truth, you know what I mean? And navigating through that can be tough sometimes. And it's okay to say that. It's okay to say that that's tough. And I tried to hang myself. I went to where my best friend hung himself at a tree, and I was going to jump off the tree. And out of nowhere, the dam opened up. Bam! And the water came, and it shook me out of what I was doing. And I went and saw my counselor, Sandy Paul, who I hadn't seen in 10 years, and just told her everything that was going on, and all the things that I've done, because recovery has given me so many amazing opportunities, like from getting, my Red Seal to be a chef to like food saved my life, and through that, I had the opportunity to become a celebrity chef. And that's what really took everything I'm doing today to the whole new level.
Do you think that maybe in your early recovery, and I don't know, like we don't know each other that good. These are just questions I'm going to ask based on some of my experience. As you got sober, how long was it before you were like back into Red Seal chefing and becoming a celebrity? How long into your journey?
So I started in AA and NA, so that's where my journey started,
Yeah.
right? Like I went to treatment, the Anchorage Boost Center. So I traditionally have done the 12 steps. I went to AA, did 12 steps, one a month, had a sponsor, went into NA. I didn't understand. It was the same program, same steps. I was like, what's going on? It was the first time I ever asked for help. So it was all really foreign to me, this concept and all that stuff. Did the 12 steps again, and at the end of the 2 years, I was just like, how come I don't know who Jay is? And that was really my question to myself. Like, yes, I understood powerlessness, but then I said to myself, I'm not powerless. I'm actually powerful. I can actually do things today. The Delta Hotel said to me, Jay, we think you need to go see a relationship coach. And I was like, I got good relationships with women. No, I didn't, but they're like, no, Jay, yourself. And I'm like, ouch, that stings. So my HR people at work saw that I was not doing well. And so I went and saw this relationship coach. And she went through her sales pitch, right? And at the end of it, she was like, it's $1,000 a month. And I was like, what do you mean $1,000 a month? And then in my mind, right, everything's going. Because you go to meetings, it's free to go to meetings. But when I was going to meetings and I didn't go to a meeting and I went back to the treatment center and I had to lie about not going to a meeting because I got judged. Like, it's not a good feeling to get judged because you didn't make it to a meeting. Like, if you don't want to go to a meeting, do you have to go to a meeting? And then I was like, here's my credit card. And that was the first time I ever made an interest in an investment in myself. And that was the first time I understood what, the beginning of alternative recovery was, that there was other help out there for me, that there just wasn't one pathway.
Mm-hmm.
And with her, I really learned about, I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not an addict. It's the pain. Get to your pain. It's not about the addiction. And that's where, I really learned thinking, thoughts, patterns, triggers, series of events, and boundaries. And, I actually stayed with her for 2 months, paid her 2 months. And that's kind of where and then I left the program, right? I wanted to get a life beyond recovery. And it's okay to say that you've outgrown the program. It's okay to say that you've gone somewhere else to get recovery. It's okay to say that. But there's so much stigma out there and people point the fingers at you if you're not doing recovery the way they want you to do recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of black sheeped it and started doing this stuff. And about 5 years is when I became the celebrity chef. So I was in for a while. I'd been cooking right away. You know what I mean? I got out of treatment, went to second stage, enrolled myself into college at Algonquin College, so, but it was the food that saved me. You know what I mean? It was, I'd take the food and paint how I felt on the plate. Like it was artistry to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that there's just some things in my life that I just, didn't want to look at. And I mean, anybody to say that they've looked at everything in their life, I think that's BS. But, ego gets in the way. You have to get out of your way. You're the ego.
Well, ego gets in the way right from the start. Like, ego's always in the way, right? And that's why I asked you the questions that I asked you, because the ego, and like you saying, oh, I don't know who I am at 2 years sober. I don't know anyone that knows who they are at 2 years sober. And if you're at that place at 2 years sober where you don't know who the hell you are, that's right where you need to be, is my experience. If you really know who you are at 2 years sober, it's probably not going to turn out very well, is what I've seen. Yeah,
and you're right, and I think it was just that it was the first time I've ever been in recovery, right? So for me, I didn't know what recovery was, not a clue. I honestly thought I was just going to treatment, taking a bunch of Oxycontin, sleeping for 4 months. Getting back out, and that was the case. They basically cut my bracelet off me, said, son, get to treatment.
Mm-hmm.
There's no help. There's no guiding me. There was nothing. Took my drug money, caught a bus. My family got me a plane. I didn't think I was going to eat again. Went to Harvey's, got 3 burgers. Got out in front of the homeless shelter. 6 people swarmed the cab asking if I want drugs. You know what I mean? Like, this was my experience. And I'm like, how come I was never told this? And I was right downtown Ottawa, in the heart of it. That's where I got recovery. And, so, about 4 or 5 years ago, I had a really successful business, but it was run on ego, and
What was the business?
it was freshwater cuisine. We, so every chef's dream is to, become a chef, actually become a chef, and then every chef's dream, most chef's dream is just to create their own products and then, actually get them past, let's say, the farmers markets or the gas stations. And we were able to do that. We were national and we were becoming international, and we had a third party shipping our fish to the USA, and we were working with indigenous communities. I had 117 indigenous fishers. We had 50 different communities that we worked with. It was all indigenous caught, traditional food, fish, inland fish. But because I was a chef, I was able to actually use the whole entire fish. So I looked at the fish as underutilized, undervalued, underappreciated, just like I looked at myself, underutilized, undervalued, underappreciated. And, became very successful with that and got all these awards and got all these things and everything that would like really blow up the ego.
Yeah.
Right. And through that ego is, how I, we separated, and then that's when I tried taking my life for the first time in recovery.
And when you say separated, you and your wife?
No, we weren't married, but me and Destiny's mom.
Okay.
But, in the height of like that ego success and not humbling yourself to actually like be who you're supposed to be because you're still fear-based on that one. And all the motivational speaking, I was speaking all across Canada. I was doing that since 2011, so I was speaking and getting booked and getting paid well to do it, and that was a big dream of mine too, And, Sandy Paul just said one simple thing, she said, have you ever said you're proud of yourself? And I just, woof. And I was like, oh, have I? She's like, Jay, arguably you catered the best hockey player in the world. Now, Ovechkin's probably going to beat him here right away, but Wayne Gretzky, and she's like, Jay, most people don't get the opportunities you get that come into recovery. Like, honestly, Jay, have you ever said you're proud of yourself? And I was crying, man. I never did. I never once said I was proud. I just jumped to the next thing because that's what I was used to. So when I was using to beat up my pain, what did I do? Jump. Next. Never relish in anything. Never really taken the success of what's really happening or really appreciate it or really love it. It was just like me instead of turning that word upside down and being we, and so it almost cost me my life at 10 years, and then, once I heard that, I was like, okay, maybe I got to really start digging,
How did that affect your daughter? How old was she?
She was 3. So
I guess she wasn't told, right?
No.
Does she know to this day?
Oh, yeah. She knows about this stuff, yeah.
Okay.
And then I just kind of like really kind of started working on myself a bit, so whoever out there says that they work on themselves 100%, I mean, I don't know if there is a human being. I mean, I think that's just ego running your life again, right? So I can't even say I'm working on myself 100% today because what is 100%? As long as we wake up every single day and do our best foot forward, right? And push the ego aside, bring in a higher power, whatever that looks like for you, and do the best you can. But in 2015, I had the opportunity to do a TEDx talk, and that's where the idea of Empower to Recover came from. I saw all these people, and I was like, if I could get ever lived experience individuals from all pathways of recovery, because there's so many different pathways of recovery. My foot doesn't fit in your shoe, and your foot don't fit in my shoe, right? And if we could just get businesses, organizations, products, and services under one roof to show these different ways, maybe we could save the world, or at least try.
What was your topic for the TED Talk?
Never giving up, living the dream.
How did that come about?
The TED Talk?
Because of your success on your recovery and your pathway of career and all that?
Yeah, people just reached out and said, do you want to do this? And like I was just getting booked to do stuff.
And how did that go? Where was it?
Fort McMurray, Alberta.
And it went well?
Yeah. Yeah. Loved it.
And that's where your spark happened?
The spark happened before that, but that's where the spark happened for the idea of E2R, which wasn't called E2R then. It was just this thing in my mind. I manifested it for 8 years. You know, COVID came along. Met Ashley, became Canada's recovery couple. And met Brooke. And then that's where we built our program, HYPE, Help Your Personal Effort, which is a 6 and 12-week program. Dives into your thinking, thoughts, patterns, trigger series, events, boundaries. Launched it on our 5,000 days, on my 5,000 days in recovery, October of 2021. And 72 people came through the program. But this other thing happened where 500 people reached out and were like, Jay, I can't get a counselor. I can't see somebody. I can't see a doctor. I'm on a wait list, all these things. And I'm like, I'm this little sardine here. Like, honestly, I'm like nobody in this. And I was like, wonder if, you know, like, because I had this manifesting this thing from this TEDx talk. Like, I wonder if the time is now. Is now the time to do this? And in that period of time, I had to close the business because of COVID. So I was really struggling with my identity. I was really struggling with who I am. I was really struggling. Am I the chef? Am I the motivational speaker? Am I a great father? Am I all these things? Do I love myself? Do I not love myself? I lost $2.5 million. And I had to close something that was like a real big part of my life. And it was one of the toughest decisions of my life to do. But it also pushed me to the biggest purpose of my life. And
what made you close it?
Just ran out of money.
Just randomly?
No, ran out of money.
Oh. Yeah, that'll do it.
Well, COVID did it, you know, like that was it. And I couldn't get fish anymore. I had to set up 6 feet. I couldn't have very many employees. I couldn't do the same production. Nothing. Like everything was different.
As that was crumbling, what was that like?
I was running. I was spending money like a madman. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to turn to. I felt like I was a failure. I felt that nobody, you know, like I was struggling. But I always turned to what I knew, which was my recovery. Like you turn to your recovery and what you do. I turn to my recovery. I always go back to my recovery, right? Which is what I learned from that relationship coach. And then our program that we built. And I just really got obsessed about that. That was the problem. I got obsessed about that. Now you got to find balance through this. And I didn't know where the balance point was. So inevitably, Ashley and I went our separate ways as well. And because I was just too obsessed with it all the time. Not giving myself a break, not giving myself a chance, always talking about recovery 24/7. Don't get me wrong, it's okay to talk about it 24/7, but we do need a break too. And, you know, that was hard for me to say because that's who I am. But it's not who I am. Recovery doesn't define who I am, right? So.
And we got to be careful with that, as our ego loves to attach to anything and to be taking, like, I have to do it myself. I got to take inventory on, like, who and what I am and, like, you know, where I might be, like, attaching my ego to what I think I am through what I do. The one thing I found that helps me ground myself is the culture and the sweats. And, like, when I'm in culture, no one really knows who I am or what I do. And then the sweat lodge doesn't care. None of that stuff cares, right? And so I've found a pretty good balance through the culture and self-inventory.
Yeah, nature's been a big part for me. Just going in the woods, feeding birds, getting in touch with nature and, you know, just sitting there, you know, and just finding people that I don't want to say the word fix, right? Seem to always attract the people I want to fix. Or if they want to fix me, right? Just trying to find people that aren't like that. You know, it's difficult in the world today like it is. But, yeah, we went on this journey in 2022. Brooke and Carl, you know,
How'd you meet them?
Brooke found me on TikTok, I believe. And that's where we found Brooke. Carl did a Zoom with me when he was going to Calgary. He was coming to Calgary to do something. And I did a Zoom with him and about what I was doing. And then that's how Carl and I met about 3 years ago. And I just brought to them, said, hey, I got this idea called Empower to Inspire. It's blah, 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 blah. We're going to do this, 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 and this. And then Brooke went and took a look. That name was taken. She came back and said, what about E2R? And I was like, what did you say? Power to recover with the number 2. I was like, buy it. And I mean, for me, it's brilliant because there's no label on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a label guy. I've always said I'm a healaholic, healing from my trauma, and that's the truth. I am. And so we started the journey. We started building it out in 2022. We were supposed to do our first event November 21st of 2022. We weren't ready. We had to cancel it and be in New Westminster, BC. So there was another piece where I was like, am I failing again? Because I put a whole bunch of money, whatever money I had left, I put into it because I believe in it. And you have to put money into your own dreams. You can't expect, you got to show up. You got to show up. You got to believe in it before anybody else believes in it. And, but then I was like to Brooke and Carl and the team at the time, May 27th, we're going to do the first event in New Westminster, BC. And we didn't know who was going to show up. We didn't know if anybody was going to show up. But, 120 people showed up. We had a phenomenal day. Shea Emery kicked us off, 2-time Grey Cup champion. We had health products there. We had treatment centers there. We had Tesla beds there. Brooke shared about her brother. We had Scott there, author, devoted dad, talked about. Ted Wilson was there. Carl was there. Beatrice Love was there.
Mm-hmm.
And we raised $14,000. I mean, it cost about $50, but whatever. And I was like, wow, that's pretty special. If nothing ever happens past here, we did this. And that's pretty cool since I'm in Ontario and we're doing it in BC. And that's when I flew to Calgary, and that's when I met you and when I was speaking in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I was like, hey, they were like, what are you going to bring it here? I was like, well, is Canada ready for something like this? Like, to be so open about recovery and that there's so many different ways. And then I went back home, and that's when I booked the one back home in Kenora, Ontario. And I was like, if it's successful in Kenora, in my hometown, which my hometown loves me, but there's also this other side to it, right? Then there's probably something here, if my hometown really gets behind it. And we sold it out, 225 people, raised $26,000 to help put on the event, which was massive, considering we just became a national non-for-profit July 25th. We were doing that event September 15th.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where youth got introduced. So Street Angel, Street Angel. And the Indigenous component got introduced. Greg Rickford was there, shared about losing his younger brother to fentanyl overdose, CMP. And then we came to Calgary. We did number 3. And this is where it got kind of sticky for me, because I was going through a separation with Ashley. I was going through the loss of all the money. I was going through the business closure. I was going through just a whole bunch.
So before we get into that part, I want to ask you on the business end, because I'm from here and it can be cliquey. And having like an outsider come in and try to put something on, how easy was it to like get traction?
Not easy.
No way.
No.
What was some of the challenges you found?
Well, people not really knowing who we are. I think that was number one. I mean, we had got great support. The Hunter Family Foundation was a great support. Like, they gave us $10,000 to put on that first event.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some great boosts there. Teen Challenge, you were there. The Art Girl was there. Simon House was there. Elfco House was there. Like, so we had some great support, but it's cliquey here, and
I think honestly, by you keep showing up around here, like I'll my own experience, dude, I've been around a long time, I finally got embraced into the community last year, right? Last year when I showed up at Recovery Day Calgary, finally I felt like something had shifted because there's, I don't know, I just felt resistance for fucking years and years. And I'm from here. So I couldn't imagine like coming from outside of here, and you're kind of outspoken like I am. So, you know, there's going to be the resistance. But I think if you keep showing up and you stay consistent and persistent, at some point people got to embrace you because there's no choice. And so that's one thing I've always loved about you is it's like, I don't give a shit. I'm coming. I'm going to be there. I'm going to do what I need to do. And haters hate and supporters support. And slowly the tides turn. And that's what I'm seeing with you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, you know, when we did that event, you know, I didn't even want to do it because I was so mentally, you know, but I had, you know, dress up, show up, take part in life. Like, you know, for the first 3 days I was in Calgary, I was planning my death in 2023 again. And
before the event.
Before the event. And I just started talking about this.
That's probably pretty shocking for somebody listening right now to hear.
Yeah. So long-term people, like I said, right? Like in 2018, I tried taking my life. Right? And like I got everything, you know, God's provided quite well. You know what I'm saying? But we all deal with some stuff. And, you know, I was dealing with some stuff where my father wasn't in my life for 14 years. I was dealing with just some stuff that I wasn't, the unserving stuff in my mind. I wasn't allowing permission in my life to myself. Right? I wasn't giving myself permission for certain things. And, yeah, I did the event, which was kind of interesting because it was our third event, third city, third province. We were only going to do 2 events. We had a goal to raise $50,000. We raised $60,000. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't doing well mentally, right? And nobody would ever suspect that. They didn't. Like I don't have a lot of people reach out to me and say, "Jay, how you doing?" There's maybe 5 of this, like all across Canada, and so I had home, and
After the event,
and it's a day, and I planned to hang myself in the fish plant. And so it was Sunday night at 6 p.m. Nobody should have been at the fish plant. Nobody should have been around. Nobody. And this is the thing with suicidal idolization. We plan it, right? And then you get a euphoric out of it because you know you're going to do it. And when you get to the point of doing it, that's when you do it. So you're at peace with it. And my daughter wasn't with me, so she was still with Julie. So I didn't have to deal with like that, right? And the realtor came in and caught me out of nowhere.
The one that you had hired to sell the fish plant?
Yeah. Shouldn't have been there. Coached me down, and I knew God wasn't done with me. But is also working towards a hip replacement. And this is where I was really, really praying for a rebirth. I just want a rebirth. I just want whatever, all this stuff in my mind. Please, just let it go. Like, it's preoccupied about spent time. It's the past. I can't change it. I just got to accept it. And then if I can accept it, I can forget. You know, I got to forgive myself, Jay. Just forgive. It's hard to get to that point. Hard to get to that fucking point of forgiveness. It really is. And if somebody's telling you they can get to forgiveness quick, they're lying to you. Because it's hard. It's hard. It's probably the hardest thing in recovery is to forgive yourself. You know, because if you can forgive yourself, you'll get to acceptance. And if you can get to acceptance, you'll get to letting go. Tough trail.
Yeah, it is.
It is. It truly is. So I was at that point because it was life or death. And I had to. And so I wrote a surrender letter and a rebirth letter. And I read it on the operation table. February 27th was a year since the right hip replacement. And everything that I owned surrendered was on that list. Everything from a rebirth was on that list. And I read it on the operation table in front of the doctors, nurses, and the surgeon. They're all crying, like, what are you doing? I'm like, I got to do this for myself. And I was looking at them putting me under the anesthesia. It was like I was dying. And then when I woke up, that's the rebirth. So when they put me down and I didn't see anything, that's when the surrender happened. No more. When I woke up, everything I asked for would be there. Or it would come when it was supposed to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. I woke up, and then they took me to the recovery room, and they moved me up too fast, and my heart rate and blood pressure dropped. I almost had a heart attack. So I was in the tunnel, and I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm like, I know the light. You're either going up or down, right? And I'm like, halfway down, there's this white silhouette. And I'm like, what's that? And then I wake up at the white silhouette, and they got me wrapped up in cold towels, and I'm elevated. And I'm like, what's going on? Just came out of hip replacement. Oh, everything's going to be fine. And then 2 hours later, they came over and said, hey, look, looks like your color's back. We're going to slowly move you down. Let's get you walking. I'm like, walking? And then it was like, if you can do the second floor, and this is where it brought me back to the 12-step program. They said, if you can walk up 12 steps and down 12 steps, you can go home. I was like, okay, I can walk up 12 steps and go down 12 steps, no problem. And I was at home at 4:30 that night. But I remember coming out of the hospital, and the door just, and then this weight. I've never, ever, ever, ever felt a weight like that before. Come off me. Ever. And
what do you think the weight was?
all the shit I wanted to let go.
Mm-hmm.
It was gone. No taking it back. None. Nothing. No. And I went home. A couple days later, Mom went to the mail. She said, I got some mail. I'd been waiting for a U.S. waiver for 15 years. Believe it or not, they don't like ex-cocaine dealers in the U.S. Took me $10,000 to get that. They got a U.S. waiver. I was like, that's pretty special, because who the hell keeps the consistency to get a U.S. waiver? Not too many people. And not too many people would work 15 years to get a U.S. waiver. They would just give up.
Yeah.
Just the truth and reality of things. A couple weeks later, I called Brooke up, and we got a $10,000 check from the Hunter family from the Calgary event. It was our biggest donation that we had ever got. And the Hunter Family Foundation gave us another $10,000 for this event happening March 8th. The Hunter Family Foundation really supports what we're doing. And I really appreciate it. And that's a big player in Calgary.
Mm-hmm.
And then we came to Timmins. I had to do the first event, Timmins. You were there?
Yeah.
You remember me with the cane?
Yeah.
And it was interesting because didn't know if I was going to make it. You know, they were like, don't go. And there was a big piece of me that said, should I go? You know, like I was at 6 weeks. My knee was locked up when I got off the plane. It was my driver's foot. I get to the hotel, and the cleaning lady, you know, and on that letter, I said, like, I have to ask for help. Even if that means that I have to ask a male, if I can't wipe my own ass, I need to ask for help. I can't do this alone. And that's when I went because I couldn't change, right? I couldn't change.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't bend over. You saw me. And the cleaning lady was there, and the cleaning lady turned out to be a nurse. Like, God provided a nurse that week for me through the cleaning lady. And then in the pool, helped me like do some exercises in the morning. And I was like, how does that happen? And then we did a phenomenal event in Timmins, didn't we?
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was a great event. You know, there was a great show out, a great response. You know, I remember we walked outside. Remember, it was snowing. Mm-hmm. Went outside. It was sunny and no snow. Mm-hmm. I was like, we brought the biggest love bomb to Timmins.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a phenomenal event. You know, and then from there we went on to do 7 more events with a right hip replacement. You know, we went into Edmonton. You were in Edmonton. You saw Edmonton. From there we went to Saskatoon. Saskatoon, we did our biggest event. 453 people showed up. 83 people.
Beauty.
And but through this too, like when I got back from Timmins, I was in physio, and I walked out, and on that letter it said, I want my relationship back with my dad. I hadn't talked to my dad in 14 years in recovery. And I walked out of physio, and there's my dad standing there. And I was like, now's the time? You know, and I didn't know that my dad almost died. My dad was in the hospital because he almost died.
Mm-hmm.
And I started that relationship with my dad. You know, and that's been about a year now. About 3 weeks ago, my daughter Destiny stayed at his house for the first time. Grandpa Duke's. You know,
So kind of like when you bring all this together, you're 17 years sober today or these days. When was your 17th birthday?
February 11th.
So not long ago, you just turned 17. And you've had many ups and downs along the journey. And when we were sitting in the green room shooting the shit about maybe what we were going to talk about or just shooting the shit about life, your message was you want people to know with long-term recovery what? That there's more work to do?
Yeah. Yeah, you have to keep digging. Like it's just, you can't coast. You gotta keep digging deep, you know, and it goes right. And for me, this is for me.
Yeah.
It goes right to forgiveness, to acceptance, to letting go. That's it. You know, I'm grateful today that I've been able to find, you know, a person in my life that, you know, I can be 100% honest with too today, you know, who doesn't judge me. Because, you know, people that I have been with in the past, you know, always, you know, put this, well, you're the recovery guy. Get over it. Everything's fine. Hey, you've got a lot of recovery. Hey, everything's fine. Hey, don't, you know, that's what I would get.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you've been around a long time. What do you mean? I'm just like Bill. I'm just like Brooke. I'm just like the guy that's coming in on one day.
Mm-hmm.
That's the truth. I'm no different than anybody else. This platform, Empower to Recover, saved my life.
Hmm.
And it's also saved, you know, through the ARN network we test piloted over the last year. We've helped 40 different people. You know, and that has a 79% recovery rate.
And we need people that we can go to and talk to about our life, not just about recovery. It's about our lives. You know,
Right.
what we're feeling, what we're thinking, what we're fearful of, what we're going through, and hopefully turn it into growing through, because the brain can be quite a nasty place to be. And I always talk about it like this, like there's a lot of repressed issues that we've pushed so far down, and then the suppressed issues that we know we're pushing down. So at least if we talk about the ones that we know we're pushing down, or we at least just talk regularly with somebody, the suppressed stuff actually is like a relief valve out of, like letting air out of a tire. And then it allows for room for the repressed to eventually come up. And I always say it like this, especially people in recovery, alcoholics, addicts, whatever, substance abuse issues, people. We have a different way that our mind works. And if we don't learn how to deal with our shit will deal with us.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're describing is at 10 years, your shit's going to deal with you. And at however many years past that, your shit's going to deal with you. So we have to have ways to like let the relief valve of suppression, so it allows repression to come out, and constantly be vigilant and diligent on what we're thinking and feeling, and know that we have to talk about it. That's like at least the barest beginning. And to not have those people in our lives, that's risky,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So at least you have that, and I have that too. And they've changed over the years,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I've always had one or two real solid ones,
Yeah.
but the other ones change a little bit, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They've changed throughout my life, you know, but I think the communication, like, I mean, even this morning, you know, I just sent a message off. I said, I'm overwhelmed today. Of course, I got an event tomorrow. I feel overwhelmed all the time, you know? So people are always like, why are you overwhelmed? You shouldn't be nervous. Fuck. If you're not nervous and you're not overwhelmed, you're not doing the right, don't do it. Right? And I mean, after I sent the text, I didn't get judged, didn't get poked at. They simply said, that's valid, Jay. Thank you. It is valid that I feel this way. Right? But that's opposed to what's different is that I would get the other stuff.
Yeah.
What do you mean you're overwhelmed? What do you mean you're nervous? You've been doing this since 2000, blah, 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 blah. What, I don't got feelings?
Dude, last night at the study group I said, because we're all trying to live spiritual in recovery, right? But it's one of the most judgmental places that you can be. Everyone's trying to be so good and perfect that you make a mistake or you're a certain way, you're judged. It's probably one of the most judgmental aspects of life that there is. But it's kind of masked by this like spiritual thing, right? So I get you, bro. I get you.
Right. And so, it's just I've been able to, like, I can honestly say, like, this last year, I went on a real healing journey. And I feel way better in myself, and not that we weren't doing great work, because we were and we are. But what we're bringing on tomorrow, you're going to see how much we've actually grown, and you're going to see how much, like, I feel proud coming back to Calgary for 2.
Mm-hmm.
I do, because Calgary's tough. It ain't easy here. But, we're here again. So here I am. Mm-hmm. I'm coming, right? And we showed up. Here we are. Brooke's going to be with us. The first time Brooke's been back on stage with me since Calgary.
No way.
Yeah. So Brooke and I are hosting. The last event she was at was in Calgary.
Is she going to do some stand-up comedy?
Well, we're going to try and poke her to do it. And Carl, Carl's here. So like the original OGs, the OGs are here, and here's the thing, like when we were here last, we were doing our 3rd live event. This is our 12th live event. Right now we're sitting at 123 different speakers that have been on the platform that have spoke. 98 different community partners. Raised over $250,000 to help put on all these events. That's people power. That's people. I ain't government here. No government in this house.
Mm-hmm.
That's people power driven.
Amazing.
Right? 40 people come through the ARN. You're going to see what the ARN is tomorrow, right? With a 79% recovery rate.
Nice.
Why? Just because the same work you're doing. You know why you and I get along? Because we do the same work. We understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We have an understanding. People don't get along with us, they don't have an understanding. But they'll come back in our lives when they're ready.
And it's a we thing.
Yeah. And that's the other message. I dropped my ego. Right? When on that, what was the first thing on that surrender letter? In the hugest letters? EGO. No place for that. We can get caught up in that. I know I can.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I was like, I don't want that anymore. And I think when I did that, healing really started. I was actually able to really take a look at Jay Corey. It's not Jay Barnard, Jay Corey. So I was born, got switched to Jay Barnard. But the ego stopped, right? That's why I was able to get the relationship back with my dad. People in my hometown didn't even know that Earl Corey was my dad. Right? 14 years I never talked to him. I dropped the ego. The ego was the biggest thing that was stopping me from being really, truly Jay.
I would say it's more of over 17 years, the ego's been chipping away. And like you said, surrender takes time. Forgiveness takes time. All of these things take time. And at some point, you just like say, I'm done. Yeah. And you had a big moment of that. So 17 years of back and forth with the ego, trying to live love, ego, to the point where twice almost wanting to kill yourself. And then, but big shifts in the last year.
Mm-hmm.
Big shifts all throughout, but some really beautiful, like compassionate ones for yourself in the last year.
Yeah. And I stayed out of a relationship too. I haven't been in a relationship for over
That's vitally important for these things
to happen, yeah. For sure. And I was by myself and, really just, I wanted to love Jay, and that's really the truth. And I deserve that. We all deserve that.
Yeah. But
go look yourself in the mirror and say that and mean it.
Yeah.
Right? So I finally came to a point, and my beautiful daughter knows all about this stuff, you know what I mean? And she's, she's just sticks there with a rock, man, and just, Daddy, you're one of the most powerful people I know. You don't give up. and you're helping people. Like she wears the E2R shirt to school to help kids. Like our kids are trying. This is a little 9-year-old, you know, and it's just like, I'm not going anywhere. If anything, we're getting louder. We're going across farther. We got all kinds of events coming up this year. After here, we head to Nova Scotia. We're on the East Coast for the first time, Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, with the No Matter What Happens project, which is massively exciting. Kalichi's going to be there, so you met Kalichi. Mm-hmm. Then we're going to Cornwall.
When's that one in Nova Scotia?
April 25th.
Nice.
Yeah, we might get you there. And then we're in Cornwall. Then I'm back in Calgary. I'm doing the Sober Runway here in Calgary in July.
Let's do Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Let's get some Newfie speakers.
Yeah, Newfoundland.
That would be an amazing event with some Newfoundlanders.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the beautiful thing about what we're doing. We're just traveling across Canada, you know. Strength and recovery, power through community. Mm-hmm. That's the truth. What are we doing? If 2 people show up there tomorrow, we've done what we're supposed to do.
Well, I know 2 people for sure showing up.
Yeah, I know 3 actually. Bill, Daniel, and Brooke. So
I got like 10 or 15 or 20 coming. So
yeah, it's going to be a great day, and we got some great speakers tomorrow, and it's just going to be a fun day. And it's our second event of the year. You know, now I think it's important that I say this too. We are starting to work into the Indigenous communities, and you know that. Mm-hmm. And we did our first event in Shoal Lake, 39 and 40, just outside of on the Manitoba border. And it was powerful. I'm really proud to do that again, you know, because the Indigenous people were a really big part of my life for that fish plant, you know, and I made some really amazing, I got goosebumps, right? Really amazing relationships and really got to see a different land-based approach to life. Mm-hmm. And I feel proud being able to do that and go to the communities and bring people like you that have a powerhouse of a story, you know, and share the people that do have recovery in the communities as well, because they do have recovery in communities.
Well, next time you're out this way, I'll take you to some ceremony.
Yeah.
Let's plan it.
Yeah, I'd love that. July.
Take you to a sweat. July what?
I'm supposed to be here in July 19th, so I'll probably be here for 5 or 6 days.
Okay, I think I can be free then. I have Sundance in beginning of August. But I'm pretty sure we can go sweat somewhere in
Nice.
July.
Yeah. Awesome.
If you could ever attend a Sundance, bro, blow your mind. Blow your heart open. Unbelievable experience.
Would love to.
They're all over around here.
Would love to.
Yeah. Anyway, what's your closing statements?
Well, I think I just want to keep it simple, you know, strength and recovery, power through community. That's as simple as it can be, right? So strength and recovery is everybody sharing their voices. I mean, look what's happening in Saskatoon right now.
Yeah.
223 people overdosed 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's insanity right now. So we need to be doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
We need to be coming together as people, you know, and this year's theme and this year's is community. What is community? Why are you at the event? Why are you coming here? Why did you buy the ticket? Why is there people here? You know, like, I think we've been so pulling away from community and so pulling away from like relationships and so pulling away from, we need to come back to that. We need to come back to that. That's the fundamentals of life. And so, yeah, like biggest message is community.
I always see that on your posts, and it was really funny. I did an event like 3 years ago, and the main thing for the event, the title was Common Unity. And it came from the same word, right? Yeah. Common unity. And that's really what this community is. We have a common unity in what we do and what we're trying to do. And I think that's amazing. How can people find you?
We're on all major platforms, so just Empower to Recover Foundation. And then if you want to check out our website, it's www.empowertorecover.com. That's where you're going to see all the tickets, all what's coming up, what's going on. We have a YouTube channel, Empower to Recover Foundation. I'm not difficult to find. If you want to find me, you'll find me. It's easy.
100%.
Yeah.
And once they find you, they'll know that that's you.
Yes, they will know that it's me. Hard not to.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no, you're doing great things, bro, and I'm happy that I've been on the journey with you for a couple of years, and separately but together, and we've always stayed in touch and had some good chats on the phone. So, appreciate you.
Yeah. Big love.
Big love, bro. Have a good day.
You
Thank
too.
you. We'll
Thank
see
you.
you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.